3, 2, 1, 0.
0.
Home. Home.
Get the Zen music going.
3, 2, 1, 0. All right, I don't have a cold open for you this week. I apologize.
I was wondering. I was like, I always wonder if you have like a hidden one. You just don't want me to see it, and I'm like just waiting.
No, I don't have one. I couldn't think of one. I know what I can tell you right in the cold open is I have it in the show notes, but we'll just make it a cold open. Is Magic Legends? They've already announced that they're closing up shop in October on Halloween.
Wow.
The last day of Magic Legends is going to be Halloween. So maybe we reviewed our first vendor trash. Maybe that's the first one because it went to like beta, or it was like in like pre-launch and then beta and then open beta. Whatever state it's in now wasn't like officially launched.
Right.
And that's where it failed. It's
that's
getting
crazy
up,
though.
Yeah.
It's like, this ain't worth it. We're just bugging out. It's done.
I have a pretty strong feeling. I don't know this to be true, but I have a feeling that it could have been Wizards of the Coast. Like I feel like they were like, all right, we can see the writing on the wall. This game's not going to be successful, and it's probably going to be too much of a hit to our brand for Magic the Gathering to have this come out and fail than to just kill it before it actually launches.
Right.
I think that was the result.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
But the sad thing is while it definitely was not a good game, I understand why they canceled it, and it got a lot. Sometimes there's games that are like not terrible, but they get the branding like right out of the gate really strong.
Yeah,
they were definitely down that path. This thing would have launched and everybody would have hated it. But there was like a few nuggets of what I thought was a solid thing, and so I don't know. I hope that someone kind of takes some of those good ideas and they show up somewhere else. I don't know. We'll see, but
they might try again. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, that was our
just
first...
with a different studio.
Yeah. Vendor trash. Just play Magic the Gathering Arena. It's really good. That's the way to play Magic.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Welcome to Crowbar Kernel Panic, the podcast at the intersection of Linux and gaming. This is episode 10. I bet you didn't know it was 10. I bet you didn't even know.
I didn't know until I went to the show notes and I'm like, holy crap, it's 10. Wow.
It's kind of 10, but in a kind of a sneaky kind of way. This is only our 9th podcast, but because we split the last episode into 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't do the 0.5 thing the way Leo does with Midcast. It was episode 9, which makes this 10. So we kind of cheated our way.
Hey, that works for me.
Into 10. We'll have to do a renumbering. It's going to be a whole problem.
Just edit that part out and no one will ever know.
But live streaming. Oh, we're not live streaming this week. But you can find us at YouTube at the Crowbar Kernel Panic YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to everybody who gave our last video some views and some comments. We're going to go over some of those comments in this episode as we compare. Well, basically, we're going to be reviewing our gaming experience on Ubuntu, but it's going to be impossible not to compare it to Fedora. We just did Fedora last week, so it's going to be impossible.
Oh no, I'm comparing it.
Yeah, that's right. And you can send us an email at crowbarkernelpanic@pm.me. Or
please send.
Yeah, or join us on Discord. I discovered that the Discord link, unless you set it to always work, it only works for like 24 hours. So, yeah, so I'll fix that for future episodes. But this week, like I said, we're going to be talking about Ubuntu. Before we get into that, I didn't ask you beforehand, but did you get any gaming done this week, or you basically just been pen testing and and testing all the various FPSs and all that kind of stuff.
I've been just basically doing testing, making sure they install and play for the most part.
Yeah.
And I mean that's good and all, but some games they play to a certain point and then they fail, like Resident Evil for one. Sometimes it would play for like a couple rooms and then it would crash, and you know. So it's testing, but it's not thorough testing.
Yeah. You have the worst luck with that Resident Evil game. That is,
dude, this game is killing me.
You might just have to move on, man. You might have to just chalk that one up.
I'm trying it on every distro. I need to find the distro that I can put all the settings all the way to ultra, and I can play it with no problem.
I didn't test it on Ubuntu, or Fedora, but it worked on.
That was the first game I installed.
Oh, it worked on Arch. Yeah, whenever I was using just Arch. So I'll try it possibly on our next review that we do. I'll try it on that. I did get a little bit of gaming in. I played Final Fantasy XIV for the last couple days. I'm in this. I've talked about it before. How I'm in this like MMO drought. There's like no good MMOs right now, and there's like this.
Not any new good MMOs, I should say.
That's right. Yeah, and there's like this like mass exodus of World of Warcraft right now, which I'm not playing WoW, so I'm not part of the mass exodus. But there's like
you exited a long time ago,
right? Yeah, I exited. I already exited a while back.
I never entered, so
yeah. And now's not the time. But
no.
the YouTube gaming community, especially in the MMO area, I guess, is like it's like all like famous Warcraft players that are trying Final Fantasy XIV for the first time, which I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV since Heavensward. I've been playing on and off for a long time. But I don't know. I've been fascinated by the whole like community just like drifting away from the current WoW expansion. Like I think COVID kind of hit like all of these games. It's in such a way that they haven't released much for a year. But then on top of that, like Blizzard was already kind of like behind in their release cycles. We're like
dwindling.
Yeah. And I think that I think it's interesting. I don't know. This could be it. This could be the final nail in the coffin.
Know.
I think. What are they gonna pull out of their sleeve? That like.
Yeah, I know they've done everything. How many years has it been? Like it's over 20,
God.
Right?
I actually let's look that up. I'm not sure.
Because man, they have done everything. Like if you name something that another game has done, they've already done it. And probably iterated on it.
I just looked up World of Warcraft. Released in 2004.
Wow. So not quite 20 years.
Not quite 16 years.
But still, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's how I've always measured. Like when I think about time in my life, like when I either think about where I was working at the time, but then I had a lot of jobs that I had for like a really long period of time. So even that doesn't help. Like I worked at Sonic Drive-In for like 11 years, and then Best Buy for like 8 years, and so
that wouldn't work.
Yeah, so whenever I think back, I think about whether it's either Sonic or Best Buy, and then my second like placement is what Warcraft expansion was I playing at the time when I got off of work. That's how I could tell. That's how I could tell where things are in my lifespan.
Yep. Video games are definitely a good way to tell.
Yeah.
Tell what you're doing.
But so the fascination of the mass exodus has brought me back to Final Fantasy. The entire time I've played the game, I've always played Black Mage, which is obviously the mage class. It's just damage dealer. But I've always toyed with the idea of like, oh, I might want to play a tank or I might want to play a healer, and then I try it for a little while. But to be honest with you, I'm so used to doing those things in either Elder Scrolls or World of Warcraft, and it's not that it's harder or easier, but it's just different in Final Fantasy, different enough that I don't feel comfortable doing it, and I always scurry back to Black Mage. And so I started a warrior, and I'm trying to level a warrior from, because the way that game works is you can do every class on one character. And so I've already done all the story mission on my Black Mage. And so he just changes to a level 1 warrior. It's the same character, but all those quests are done. So like I'm having to like find like side quests and little like leaves that I can do and all these things just to gain experience to try to level up my alt character. And I'm following.
That's different from what I'm used to. I'm not used to that kind of a leveling scheme.
Yeah, well, they've got like a lot of repeatable stuff that you can do, and then of course you can queue up for stuff. So there's lots of ways to level up. I don't know enough to do it justice, but I've found a few YouTube videos to follow. But I don't know. I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious watching people. And I think they just came out with a new patch too. I think WoW just came out with a new patch. So I think maybe we'll see if that brings everybody back again. I don't know.
Now, is there a native Linux version for Final Fantasy? Or
no, it's not. But it's got a gold rating on Proton DB.
Okay.
And there's a few steps that you have to do. I've mentioned it once before on a previous episode.
Yeah, I do remember that. I just didn't know if it was native and you still had to do stuff or something. Yeah. Sometimes native Linux games are garbage and you just use the Proton anyway.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because I've heard that. I've been hearing that a lot more recently than I used to hear in the past. Like I know several Linux native games that just they say they don't run as well. There was one recently someone mentioned. I think in the Discord group. Might have been you.
It might have been because I put here. Oh yeah, you said Divinity Original Sin.
That's what it was
for the summer sale, and that one definitely works better under Proton.
That's funny. So I don't know that I've ever tried it. I don't know which way I've tried it, to be honest with you, because the weird thing about once you enable that Proton on experimental titles or whatever, I don't know when it's installing Proton and when it's installing the native version. Like, does it never asks you,
It always will install the native version unless you go into the properties and select, you have to use Proton.
Right.
Like if it has a Linux version at all, it will always use that if you're on Linux first.
Okay. I've never tried it on Proton then, because that's the way I just install it.
Now I don't know. I only tested that game on Linux Mint ever. This was before I started distro hopping like crazy.
Yeah, me
and
too.
all that. And that's the problem I had mainly was that the native version was just so laggy and the frame rate was bad and it was just a really bad experience.
Yeah,
it wasn't unplayable, but it was just really bad. And once I went to Proton, I think it was I have it here 4.11. It was perfect, no problem.
Gotcha. I'll have to try it out. I've never really had any trouble with it, but with that game, I only get so far before I get bored with it. Like it's a good game, but that type of game where you're basically playing D&D on a PC, they're kind of novelty for me. Like I think they're interesting, but then I don't never play with them further than the first couple chapters.
I'd like it. It's just it takes so much time.
Yeah, exactly.
And for me, that's like. I spent a good month playing it one time, and I just was like, man, I am only like 2% of the game in, and I'm taking forever.
Another game like that I've played, but again, not past the first section, is there's a Pathfinder Kingmaker. They have a Linux native install, and it's a pretty good game. I think I like Divinity a little better. Just the graphics is better in Divinity, but the way I think of it is Divinity is more similar to D&D, while Pathfinder's obviously Pathfinder. But here's what I've done. I've used the Pathfinder character creator in the game to make a character for the tabletop version of Pathfinder, because it was easier just to go through that than it was to make it in person.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know that there might be differences. Like I might have been screwing over my GM. I've given myself extra points or something I didn't even know. All right, but this episode we're going to be talking about Ubuntu, and before we dive into it, I wanted to go over the comments that we got from last week's episode. So last week we did Fedora, and I asked people, I didn't ask on the show, I asked just as a pinned comment, which is pretty, like this episode, let's just go ahead and ask it now. What what do you want us to review next? Just post it in a comment in this video, and we'll look at it. We're gonna start making a list and go through these to try on Linux. But we got some responses. I was pretty surprised at the number of responses that we got, and a few of them were like repeats. And so those are ones that I think we definitely have to dive into. Without knowing what these responses were going to be, we went ahead and picked Ubuntu. So that's why we're doing Ubuntu this week. But next week, we're probably going to do one of these. So I said, what distro should we try next? The first comment, somebody named Crack Connoisseur, he said maybe Garuda. Mileage seems to vary greatly for people, and it's nice. I'm having to read through the cord of my microphone. It'd be nice to hear an in-depth of all changes they make and how they translate into daily gaming. I don't have the time to get into with university and work, and would appreciate some insight. Yeah, Garuda was mentioned to me a few times.
Yeah.
I think you
Garuda
mentioned
seems to be pretty hot right now. I don't know why.
It is, dude. Garuda, and I don't know if we have, because we kind of talked about it behind the scenes, but like, if you watch a video on it or you look at the screenshots of it, like Garuda is wild. Like it's like all rainbow color. Yeah. Like it is so bright.
It's like 70s neon.
It is so wild. I feel like I should take ecstasy to use Garuda or something.
I know, right? Well, he is a crack connoisseur.
But yeah, it's Arch based. I think it's an Arch based.
Yeah.
distro.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's Arch based, and it used ButterFS, which is two awesome criteria for me.
See, I never use ButterFS, and so if I use Garuda, it'll force me to use it because I won't change. I'll just use default settings. That's pretty cool. Also, I think we got another comment in here that was a +1 to Garuda. I'll read it when I get to it. And then recently at work, I did a presentation where I was talking about just updating servers. We're trying to help people that don't normally use Linux, how to get on their update game. And someone after the meeting, because I bragged about how I was like a Linux fanboy, and he asked, like, he's just some random person. He was like, "Oh, dude, you gotta try Garuda. I don't know if you've tried it yet."
What?
Yeah,
seriously?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
In like the company chat app, he sent me a message. You gotta try Garuda, man. We got a message from Takisuno, and I checked out his YouTube channel. By the way, he's got some pretty neat videos. He says Pop would be cool, and then he gave the little XD little face.
Yeah, I've been wanting to give Pop a try, especially with Cosmic.
Yeah, because
Cosmic really changed Gnome's game on Pop OS. At least, I mean, it looks so intriguing because it's about 98% of the way I make GNOME to be.
Yeah.
And it's stock. So I'm pretty intrigued on that aspect.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. Even before I'd gotten used to GNOME, that's one of the things I was going to talk about in this Ubuntu review is I'm actually feeling really comfortable with GNOME now after using it on Fedora and then now Ubuntu. I'm actually kind of okay with it, where I hated it before. And so yeah, I don't know, that's pretty interesting. But even before that experience, I always said I think the best rendition of GNOME is the Pop OS, and I'm running it on my laptop, which actually is a System 76 laptop. It's one of the old ones, but I actually got it before they released Pop OS. That's how old it is. But I at some point installed Pop OS on it. And I like it, but I've never actually used it for gaming, even though that's one of the things people say that it's good at. So we'll definitely have to review that one. I think Garuda and Pop is at the top of the list just because they're brought up a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Luciferi also suggested Pop OS. Says definitely give Pop OS a try. We'll do it. Luciferi.
Oh gosh, the next one.
I don't know if I've read this one.
I'd like to hear what gaming on Vanilla Debian is like. I'm like, oh, will it even install on my computer?
I think we can do it because
LMDE. That's the only way I think I can get it to install.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is because I've done LMDE before, and when I did that review, I put Steam on it and tried some games. I don't think I did anything I didn't do any stress tests or anything like hardcore gaming or anything like that.
But he says vanilla though. I don't think we can use LMD. I mean, you know.
Well, that would be cheating for sure. Yeah. So
exactly.
So that was Mortimax 99. I'd like to hear what gaming on vanilla Debian is like. It's the foundation for most distros, so why not use it as an opinion baseline of sort of between Debian-based distros?
That's actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that it probably won't install on our systems.
Yeah.
Well, we can use the non-free version, which has the proprietary stuff, and that may work. But I've had very bad experiences with that.
That would have to be a must. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure, you'd have to do that. Tukisumo also says that he is running Fedora on his gaming machine at the moment pretty soundly. And then I asked him if he was using Fedora 34. I didn't go into any further detail as far as whether he's using Wayland or what he's doing. I'm sure he's probably using he has to be using X. But he said yes. So yeah, he's rocking out on Fedora 34 as far as his gaming rig, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
Fedora has definitely won me over pretty well as far as gaming went. I mean,
yeah.
I won't get into it right here, but once we start talking about Ubuntu, it'll
we can
it'll
we
come
can
out.
talk about it a little bit before we jump into Ubuntu. But I was pleasantly surprised by Fedora. I actually when I went back and edited the last episode, I was kind of in the beginning of the episode, I sounded really negative, and then by the end, I was like, oh yeah, it's great. It's got great numbers. Like I might stick with it, you know. So I feel like I kind of talked myself into it throughout the course of the podcast. And I felt kind of bad about kind of starting out pretty harsh on it, but all in all, I liked it. Now, I think so. Thank you everyone that left a comment. We got some other comments. One really funny one is someone said they didn't understand English, and so they wanted us to type it in here, whether it was good for gaming. And I said yes, said it is good, but it requires some setup. Although you said that you didn't think it required as much of a setup as I did.
Well, see, the problem with that is it depends on your hardware. Everything with Linux depends on your hardware. If you have good hardware that's going to work, I feel like it'll work perfectly.
I feel like we have really similar hardware, though.
I do too, but at the same time, we have issues, and I don't understand.
We have different issues. Yeah, so
I don't get it.
We're both using Ryzen CPUs.
Yep.
Yours is newer than mine.
Yep.
In higher.
I'm kind of on a Frankenstein one because I have the 400 series motherboard with a 5000 series processor. So it's like I'm running on a beta BIOS right now. Actually, I got to check that to see if I can actually update to non-beta.
That's a pretty interesting. That's a pretty interesting tidbit right there.
So I'm technically not getting all the features of the 5000 series. I'm getting the processing performance, but not all of the extra stuff that I could be.
In our test, it's a huge performance upgrade though. So we'll have to redo some of that whenever you get that straightened out. But we also both have NVIDIA cards. We have different models. Yours is newer than mine. Mine's older than yours. Basically, we got really similar rigs, only yours is a few years newer. Only by a few years.
Right.
So I'm surprised that our testing is so different.
I know. That's what I see with Linux all the time. It's just like, I can install Ubuntu 5 times and get 5 different results on the same machine. It's like...
Well, let's dive into Ubuntu. I avoided talking to you about it too much. But I feel like we had like complete opposite experiences. I'm going to start out with some negatives I ran into. So first off, Ubuntu, the installation experience, they use the Ubiquity installer. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
Ubiquity.
I always worried that because I know there's the Ubiquity access points, the like Ubiquity network software. So I always am afraid I'm getting it mixed up with that, but.
Nope, it's the same thing, I think.
Yeah, which I prefer over the whatever it is that Red Hat and Fedora uses.
Anaconda, yeah.
Anaconda, yeah.
I do too. I mean, they would need to change like 3 things in Anaconda, and it would be perfect, but they freaking don't, and it's so stupid.
Yeah. Ubiquity is just like designed to be user friendly. It's just
definitely.
It's designed so that your grandma can install Ubuntu, right?
Yep.
And it's great at that, and it does. So my installation, I didn't change anything. So the first time I tried to install it, and I tried to have a more customized installation. I wanted GNOME 40. I was going to immediately upgrade to GNOME 40. I was going to try newer NVIDIA graphics, which I've done on Ubuntu before. They make it pretty easily. You just have to add the PPA. I was going to just try to modify a few things. I failed miserably. Installing GNOME 40, I may as well have taken my desktop and thrown it out the window because it just... my monitors just got up off the desk and ran screaming. It didn't work.
That's great
whatsoever.
Oh my gosh.
I booted back up and it was all the animations. Yeah. All the animations, whenever you first load GNOME 40 and it brings you to the little dash screen with the search bar. Yep. All of that animation left a trail, so there was lines all over my screen. And then whenever I would click on to go back to the desktop, again all the animation would trail. And
oh my gosh, that's horrible. Was it using X or Wayland, or don't you know?
At that point I'm not sure. Honestly,
probably X, because I think Ubuntu uses X.
Yeah.
By default.
The only to my knowledge, the only mainstream, there's so many distributions, it's impossible to say the only.
Oh wait, did you have the
mainstream
NVIDIA?
is 34 Fedora for 34. It's using Wayland. Yeah.
Right, but do you have the NVIDIA drivers installed at this point?
Now I do. Yeah.
But at that point when it was giving you the trailing, did you?
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, because it would definitely be X if you had the NVIDIA drivers installed.
Right. So I couldn't even fix it. I tried to just revert back. I couldn't even fix it, and I had only.
Oh, reverting back is like a disaster. I hate that. I've tried that so many times.
And so I just said, you know what? I'm not that far into this. I could just reinstall way faster than I could try to fix it. So I just reinstalled Ubuntu. But this time I just said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take the defaults. I'm not going to modify anything.
Going for vanilla.
Yeah.
Not trying to do that rocky road.
I'm going to install it as someone would that, this is their first gaming attempt on Linux. Because Ubuntu probably is that for a lot of people. Just because for so many years, it was the quote-unquote noob distro. It was the one that was a lot of people's introduction to a Linux desktop. I think that we are blessed today that I don't think Ubuntu has gotten significantly worse. I think it's still really good, but I think we're blessed today by all the other ones have risen. They're all way better than they were.
Competition makes everyone else better.
Yeah. So, I don't even know if that stereotype of Ubuntu being everyone's first distro is even true anymore, especially in the world of gaming. I think there's probably other distributions.
Well, hey, that one guy said Garuda. I mean, yeah, that's who knows wild. If he even heard of Ubuntu yet?
That seems like a leap, yeah.
That does seem like a leap.
Another thing that I noticed, in comparison to our review of Fedora, is Ubuntu. Whenever when we installed Fedora, it gave me the Nuevo drivers right away, and it had all the correct settings. It knew what graphics card I had. My desktop, minus gaming, I'm sure it wouldn't be any good for gaming, but as far as just being a desktop, it came up beautifully. I mean, everything was the right resolution. Everything looked perfect. Ubuntu, and this has happened to me the previous few times I've installed Ubuntu for whatever reason, it doesn't get my resolution right. I don't know if it's not giving me the correct version of the free driver. Or
are you on
happening.
1080p monitors, or are you a higher?
I'm on 1920 by 1080. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not on 4K or anything.
See, that's another thing. I didn't have that issue. My Nueve drivers started up, and my one screen only worked, which is normal, but it worked perfectly. I could have used it like that if I had to. Yeah,
and I want to say this.
And your graphics card's older, so it should be more supported.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what the determining factor there is. I use DisplayPort versus HDMI. I
use DisplayPort.
Oh,
I only ever use DisplayPort.
I don't know what or why that is, but it's a simple enough fix they even have the hardware tool where you can just launch it and just pick the appropriate driver.
Right.
And so I just
that is nice about Ubuntu is all you
Mhm.
got to do is that you don't have to do any finagling to get the driver. It's pretty much there.
yeah to get the latest and greatest, you'll have to add a PPA and then install it. But
Now, I don't understand what you mean because I had both the 460 and the 465 driver in the update. In the
but
driver.
470 is the latest.
Oh, you're talking about
Yeah.
470. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I thought you meant one of the stable ones. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. You have to definitely add a PPA for 470.
Oh, okay. So it's to get the unstable ones. Whatever Ubuntu considers stable, but I guess 470 is even unstable even for NVIDIA, I guess.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
beta.
Okay, well then I take back what I said then. It seems like you get, pretty much the latest then from that selection.
I think that's a pretty new thing because
Oh.
I remember installing it not too long ago and it was only the 460 drivers. I
Yeah.
didn't see the 465. I think that's newer. I think maybe they did some testing and they were like, it's good now and we can say it's perfect or whatever.
Yeah. But so that's what I installed that, and that's what I'm using. The look and feel, like the natural, just I don't have any extensions installed. Everything is just a normal Ubuntu GNOME. I didn't like it at first, but I was having trouble getting the dash to panel. I was having trouble getting all that stuff to work and it not be Ubuntuified. And so I kind of was just like, all right, I'm just gonna have to get used to this because it doesn't seem like I can change it very successfully. And so I've just got the Ubuntu look, and it's kind of grown on me. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I like the Ubuntu theme. That I don't have a problem with that at all. Like that is they've refined that so much over the years that it's good.
Yeah, and you know what? I normally do my icons on the left like this. The only difference is I like them closer to the center. I don't like that all my icons are at the top, and then my menu button is at the bottom left, but then I have an activities button at the top again. You know what I mean? I feel like
Right.
I just want all these things. The activities button I never even use because I would just hit the Windows key, anyway, or the the super key. But
See, I use the hot corners.
I don't have it enabled. I'm moving my mouse up there, nothing's happening.
Yeah, Ubuntu doesn't have it by default. Fedora does, but
okay.
Ubuntu doesn't. But I have an extension for that. I have like 9 extensions right now.
Okay, but nine's better than in Fedora. You had like 30 extensions.
Well, that's because I was kind of experimenting.
Yeah, you've narrowed it down to like these are the 9 essentials, the ones you really need.
Yeah, the ones that I have to have are dash to panel.
Yeah.
Tiling assistant so that you can snap the windows to the sides.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying, like Windows does.
Yeah, I just do that with the hotkey.
Yeah, I know you can, but I'm not a keyboard guy.
Yeah,
I should be, but I'm not. I just don't use it.
I feel like that's the way to use GNOME. I feel like GNOME is either for like using hotkeys or using a touchscreen. I feel like.
Well, that's why I use the hot corner. See, I have extension custom hot. Let me see here. What is it called? Custom hot corners extended, and I can have all 8 of my corners to different things that I want. Like I can have it to an application if I want. I can snap my mouse up in the top. I have my tracking speed so high that it's so fast to do it that I'm like, it's faster for me to do that than do it with the keyboard.
All right, you're just like a samurai over here with your mouse.
Basically.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm okay with the layout. My last nitpicky thing. Well, this isn't nitpicky. This is actually a real problem. I don't think it's going to be that hard to fix, but I'm having Pulse Audio troubles. I may just be able to ditch Pulse Audio altogether. I don't know, but and
Pipewire's coming.
Yep. I had trouble with Pipewire too, though, and I couldn't figure out how to manipulate Pipewire.
That's true.
Pulse Audio at least has been around long enough that it's easy to find documentation on it. But I only have this problem with Ubuntu, but it's happened previous times I've used Ubuntu. When I'm watching YouTube videos, it just goes to this like
Oh
sound.
yeah, yep. I've had that. Yep.
Yep, and I know it's Pulse Audio because I launch a terminal and I just kill all Pulse Audio and then refresh the browser page and it fixes. And I just have to do that about once every time I sit down at my computer.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no thank you.
So I need to actually permanently fix it. I read a forum post about it, and they suggested a fix without having to completely remove Pulse Audio. They suggested a fix, and I'm going to try that after the show to see if it fixes it permanently. But like I said, I've had this problem with Ubuntu in the past. Even on Ubuntu.
What fixed it?
Well, even on Ubuntu-based distributions in the past, I've not had this problem. It's only on Ubuntu. For me.
Well, what fixed it for me, I know exactly what you're talking about, is I used to have my Sound Blaster sound card, and it always used to happen. What I do is I just have to unplug my headphones and plug them back in, and it'd be fine. I wouldn't have that issue anymore, as long as the video was playing. But every time the video would play, it would come back. And my remedy was getting the PreSonus.
Yeah.
I've never had the issue since then.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had the issue when I'm using my USB interface or if it's only when I'm using my speakers. Because
I love this USB interface. I should have got one years ago. It's freaking so much better than the sound cards.
It's so much better for podcasting, that's for sure.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, I always
definitely.
When I used directly plugged into my sound card, I always had some sort of staticky noise.
Yep. That's what I was dealing with for a long time.
Yeah.
When I first started.
But other than that minor issue, which I think is remediable if I just put in the time, I just haven't looked into it deeply yet. That's really the only hiccups I've had. Everything has ran without any. Another weird thing about Ubuntu and Fedora is I get those little notifications saying that an error has occurred. But it just seems to be kind of just bunk. You know
Nothing.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I get a lot.
Everything still works.
Yeah, I get a lot less of them on Ubuntu than I do on Fedora. But I think that other distributions just don't have that alert. Like I probably, if I were to look at my, if I were to look at my, processes, there's probably that error exists. I'm just not getting the alert.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say that.
So. How was your installation experience?
Installation was fine. Okay. I actually used ZFS, the experimental installer. I'm running on it right now, and everything's been fine.
So what's the deal with ZFS? Why did you want to try that?
All right. So the ZFS on root, which is, I just wanted to try that because I never did it before. So I figured, what the heck? And the reason why I wanted to do ZFS at all is because my storage, I'm running out of space, and I wanted to do RAID 5, but I didn't trust ButterFS with it, so I wanted to do ZFS for RAID 5 because I trust it more. That's the only reason.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do from now on, since I'm going to move on from Ubuntu, is I'm going to virtualize it and just have it in my distro that I have running in a virtual machine and just directly pass the drives to it.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. What are you going to use for virtualization? We're straying off from Ubuntu now.
Usually I use QEMU KVM.
Oh, okay.
I know that relatively well.
I've been wanting to try Proxmox, but I haven't found a real.
I haven't even dabbled in that. I've always stuck to KVM.
Yeah. Anyway, back to
as long as you're not doing graphical stuff, you're fine with KVM.
Yeah,
graphical stuff, it starts to get a little.
There's that whole. I wanted to do an episode on this, but I felt like it was like way over my capabilities. But there's that whole KVM pass-through thing where.
Oh yeah, I've looked into that before with Windows.
If
you run Windows and then you just pass your graphics card through.
If we could figure out how to do that and do an episode on that, that would be amazing. But I'm not confident we can, to be honest with you, because it seems really complicated.
Well, there's one major problem with that specifically, and that's that you need two graphics cards. One to run your system.
That's right.
Your Linux system, and one to run Windows.
Yeah.
And unless you have an Intel with an integrated graphics, you might as well give up.
Nobody's trying to buy two graphics cards right now.
No one's even trying to buy one graphics card.
So that they can KVM pass through Windows performance to a Linux monitor. Yeah, no one's doing that. You're right.
No.
Scratch that idea.
Otherwise, I would definitely give it a try because I've always wanted to do that.
That's hilarious. So install
yeah,
with
so
ZFS.
yep, no problems. I've yeah, it's been like normal Ubuntu. I've never even would notice. Yeah, I mean, I say in the show notes it's the worst experience I've had, and it really is. I can't. I'm trying to look at it more objectively, but it's like I've had nothing but problems with this thing since I
Man.
installed it. As far as gaming went,
You sound like me
I'm
with
like-
Fedora last week.
but like I'm not gonna talk myself into this. I know it. I just know it. I went into this thinking this is going to be the best experience I'm going to have because it's Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out of it with like, why is this thing even here? There should not be a desktop Ubuntu. It should only be server.
That's hilarious.
But like, okay, so the first game I installed, I always do this, is Resident Evil. It doesn't work at all. No matter what I do, no matter what Proton I use, no matter what settings I use,
I think
it
that
just
game.
doesn't
I think
work.
that game is so finicky that it's a bad first test. My first test is always Elder Scrolls because it just always.
Oh yeah,
the
I
most
did that as
reliable.
well.
Yeah,
I did that as well, and I had issues.
Okay. Oh, did you have
With
the same
that-
issue that you always have, where the drive?
Yes, but I couldn't fix. No.
Okay.
Oh no, actually, wait. Let me see. Yes, I did have that issue with Ubuntu. That's right, because I talked to you about it.
Okay.
No, I have the stuttering issue.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, game mode fixes that. This time it didn't. I'm getting a good roughly around 60 frames per second on it, which is normal for my system at max settings.
Yeah.
But I'm getting that horrible stutter where it's like every 10 seconds it's just stutter.
You whenever are you in windowed full screen?
I tried all of it.
Hmm.
I tried all of them. I'm on Glorious Egg Roll. I tried the experimental. I tried 6.3 or whatever the newest one is. Just nothing. Nothing has helped it, and that's just it. And I cannot play like that. There's no way, because I know for a fact that I'm gonna get the kill shot and it's gonna freeze and I'm gonna die.
Well, at least you'll always have that as an excuse.
That's true. Maybe I should use this. Ubuntu, best gaming distro.
Why are you tanking the floor? Ubuntu. No, you should go back and watch our episode about Elder Scrolls, because you pointed out a lot of performance improvement stuff, and I want to say one of them dealt with a stuttering problem. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure that was game mode, because once I used game mode in the past, it stopped that stuttering.
I don't even know how to turn on game mode. Like I've never used game mode in my entire life.
You type in game mode run in the Steam options, and then %command %sign.
Oh, so it's a Proton command, the game mode.
It's game mode is the thing that Ubuntu develops itself.
Oh.
And it turns off all unnecessary things in the background to focus on gaming, and it makes your processor, go up to max, whatever it can do, and all this stuff to reduce latency and all that.
So are you typing that?
That's what it does.
So are you typing that in the terminal or as a launch command in Steam?
Launch command in Steam. And how I know it works is I have an extension on GNOME that is the game mode extension, and every time I start the game, it actually pops up with the notification that says game mode is running.
Wow.
So I know it's working.
I've never used it. You've talked about it before, but it's always just like I have like
It's helped me a lot in the past, but not here.
Wow.
Where it should be working.
I'm going to have to run some side-by-side tests of like, well, here's my FPS without game mode. Here's my
The
FPS
FPS,
with.
it really doesn't make a difference,
really?
but that stuttering, it stopped it on Fedora. On Fedora, immediately as soon as I used that, it stopped it.
Wow.
No problem.
Wow. I've never... I've heard people talk about it, but I've always been so apprehensive of those type of like, gimmicky, like, this is ultra mode.
It's
types of
definitely
things.
not a gimmick as far as
No.
like if you need just that little edge, that little tiny bit of edge, it works.
I thought this was like an NVIDIA thing or something. I didn't realize that it was.
Yeah, it's Ubuntu. Ubuntu
I had no
actually
idea.
develops game mode.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll actually give that.
That's
a try.
why I trust it, or at least I thought I did.
That's hilarious. In the past, whenever you've mentioned it, I've always just been like, yeah, it's not for me. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it now, though.
Yeah, I mean, for you it might not do anything, but for that one game for ESO, it almost always gets rid of that stutter, but not this time.
Well, like I said, that's always my test game. That's my like usually the first thing I install when I install a new distribution.
Right.
I'm not even really playing ESO right now, but for one thing, it's free to play, so you can just install it and then try it. You don't have to have a subscription running or something like that.
Exactly.
And so I installed it, and my character, because he's sitting in the place he was last time I did this test, he's in like one of the most popular portions of one of the most popular cities, and
I do the same thing.
Yeah, and it's not a great test because you can only kind of get a feel for it because you may log in. It
depends on how many people are playing at the time and all that stuff.
Right, exactly. There's no way to have a perfect comparison, but I put in the show notes that I was 55 FPS, which is right around where I was on Fedora. I think on Fedora I was even getting higher than maybe that on average. But I think it was really similar. I think without it being a real side by side, like a real FPS test, I don't really think I could say that Fedora was higher than Ubuntu. It was really about the same. And then as far as like stuttering, like, moving my character around, I didn't see everything seemed like normal. One thing I did notice, I remember whenever we were doing the CPU comparison and we were talking about our FPS on different CPUs, one thing I didn't consider is that whenever I was doing those tests, I was actually playing the game. I wasn't just like standing in a city. And when I play the game, I usually have YouTube up on my other monitor, and I think that's why.
That'll do it.
Yeah, I think I was seeing about a 10 frame rate drop because of running YouTube at the same time.
That'll do it.
But yeah, between Fedora and Ubuntu, I didn't really notice a difference in Elder Scrolls anyway. Everything seemed to be fine. But that's so funny that you ran into the stuttering problem. Whenever you install it, say on whenever we did Fedora, when you installed it, then you were running into a different problem. But after you got it did you ever install it?
Yeah, I got it to install.
And you didn't have the stuttering.
No. No, oh no, sorry. No, I did at first, and then I did the game mode thing, and then it went away, like always. Yep. That's what's always fixed it. That between that and Glorious Egg Roll, Proton, that both those combined, it runs great.
I'm almost always using the Glorious Egg Roll Proton. I didn't do that this time because I wanted to keep everything like as just like as plain as possible.
Yeah.
I
did try the other Protons too, and it just. That's always my last resort is Glorious Egg Roll plus the game mode. Yeah. If that doesn't work, then I know it's not gonna. Nothing's gonna work.
I gotta try this game mode thing, man. I didn't realize it was so legit. Did you try any other games or any other tests?
Yeah, I did Metro Exodus because I got that game for the summer sale, and I've been wanting to get that game because I love the Metro games. They're awesome, and most of them play well. Actually, the remastered versions or the Redux ones are actually Linux natives. Yeah. But the originals aren't, and I have the originals, but they still play perfect on Proton. Proton. Yep. So, I tried that, and I've had this issue in the past, and I can't remember which distros I've had this issue, but it starts on my left monitor, and it's my vertical monitor, which doesn't work. And you gave me the suggestion of hitting, what was it, Shift super key, and then left or right, depending on what screen you want it to. And I tried that, but what happened is the game normally the game comes up, and there's a little tiny window that the game is in on my screen at the top left corner, and the rest of the screen is actually flickering like crazy, like it's like seizure-like. It's like going nuts. And so once I hit the Shift super right for me to try to get to my right monitor, it just freezes and nothing works, nothing happens, and then I hit Shift super and then left back to that thing, and then it comes back and it's like it's working again, but obviously in the screwed up state it's in. I think that's it.
I think that must have something to do with your portrait monitor.
I think so too, because I think it goes, like I said before, it goes 1080 by 1920 instead of 1920 by 1080, and it can't transition, or something's wrong with the transition trying to go over to that
because
it looks like it works when I do it,
Yeah.
but then it just a blank screen on my right screen.
Because I noticed the problem when I first, so I picked that game up on the summer sale too, and I noticed the problem that if I alt tabbed out of the game and then alt tab back in, it would change the resolution of the game. Like instead of it taking up my entire monitor, it would only take up like a little portion of my monitor.
Yeah, like I couldn't even alt tab out of it. I can't.
Yeah.
It just does nothing. Nothing works. Once you're in the game, you have to quit it. That's it.
Yeah,
That's the
you
only way to
can't-
get out of it.
I ran into that same problem, but that was like an issue I had only with that game. And I'm wondering if it has something to do. I'm wondering if you're having a similar problem, but whenever you're trying to transition from that portrait mode to the landscape mode. And also,
I tried Proton, but that didn't do anything. That actually didn't even work at all. So
I haven't tried it on Proton, but
yeah,
the my monitors also match into the same orientation, and so I wouldn't have. I think it moved over fine.
Yeah,
for me.
I think you. Yeah, I think you. That's the. Excuse me. That's the reason.
It is funny though that everything seems to open on the left monitor. My desk is set up so that's the appropriate monitor. But I remember
I know. I wish that's how I could have mine set up, but it doesn't work out that way.
Yeah. You were like, it only opens to my left monitor, and I was like, yeah, me too. But that's where I want it.
Sounds like a you issue, man.
Yeah, it sounds like you just need to move that monitor over there and that monitor over there. Problem solved. Yeah, you don't move the window. You just move your monitor.
Yep.
I did the same FPS tests that we did for Fedora, and then I also added in Gravity Mark as a more modern test. Although we didn't do Gravity Mark on Fedora, so we can't compare the two. I did do the Lost Coast, so I did Half-Life 2 Lost Coast just like on Fedora. And my test results so just to remind you, on Fedora, I got 287.68. On Ubuntu, I got 289.35, which is a difference of like my mouse cursor might have been in a different place.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's probably not a dramatic enough difference, especially on that old of a test, but
no. And unless you ran the test like 100 times, it's like you never know.
That's the thing, really, with those types of things. To get a really accurate measurement, you'd almost have to have it do it several times and then record the differences.
Yeah.
I launched Final Fantasy XIV just before we got on the podcast, just because I wanted to see how it compared. I was not playing that on Fedora, so I don't know, but compared to ESO anyway, I got 60 FPS. It was way more consistent. ESO, I was getting 62, 51. It was like all over the place.
Yeah, that's what happens with me too. Yep.
Yeah, but then in Final Fantasy, it pretty much stayed at 60, and every once in a while it would go down to 58 or 62. Like it was like solid 60. So I imagine that I would probably get a similar performance on almost any other distro.
Right.
But we tried out Gravity Mark. Both you and I tried that out. And it's really interesting because it's like so lightweight. It's like whenever you install it, which it's kind of a pain to get downloaded and running because it looks
the woes of Linux.
Yeah, it looks like it failed because you sent me a message. You're like, I'm getting this error message, and I was like, oh, I did too.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's okay. You're supposed to get that error message.
But wait, there's more.
But whenever you run it, it basically builds like this Earth, and then it builds like as many little asteroids or whatever. There's like an asteroid belt, and it builds as many as it can. It gets to like 200,000, and
it says that, but mine counted like 380 some thousand at one point, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh wow. And I have no idea what to compare this score to, but it gave me an 88.42. So I don't know if it's like 3D Mark where you can kind of compare it to other people's 3D Mark scores. I'm sure Gravity Mark has something similar to that. But that's what I got at a 52 FPS. Now, what'll make this test interesting is I did that with both monitors. I want to try it with one monitor just unplugged.
Oh, you did that with both monitors running like it was a span across both of them?
No. It was just on one monitor, but my graphic card is powering both. I think I even had my browser open. I wasn't playing a YouTube video, but I even think I had a browser open on the other side.
Right. I know what you're saying. Yep.
I wonder how it would compare with only trying to run one monitor. If it was a dramatic enough difference, I would try to get by with just one monitor. I've never been a one monitor person. I've always
Me
had to
neither.
have two.
Yep.
But if it was like a real dramatic difference, I would try it. I would do like a one monitor and then my laptop with what's that program where you can sync your mouse and keyboard across both of them?
Oh,
Synergy.
yeah. Synergy, yeah.
I might,
yep.
and there's a new competitor to Synergy now. Bonus points if anybody posts it in the comments. But I would try something like that where my game or whatever I'm playing is utilizing one monitor and all of my graphics card's power, but I'm still able to kind of open things on my laptop and use that for entertainment and for notes and that sort of thing.
Right.
I would consider that, but it would have to be a significant difference. So I'm going to try to run that test and see how different it is. But it'll also be interesting because now when we test Garuda, if that's the next one we do,
Pop,
then we can compare this test to that one. Also,
yeah, as we go on, we can compare.
Yeah, and also I want to point out Gravity Mark uses Vulkan, so we're able to test Vulkan, which is like a more realistic,
which is
test
nice
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yep.
Anyway, so that was my experience. Anything else you want to point out about Ubuntu before we kind of give it a review, like a overview?
Let's see here. Ubuntu. Nope. I think I said everything other than, well, I did do the Gravity Mark stuff. If you want me to say that now before we end it. Yeah, I did the Gravity Mark. I had a little bit of an issue, I think. It started on my left monitor, like always, and that monitor is vertical, and so it doesn't show all of the asteroids on the frame. It only shows so many. And I'm looking at this thing, and it's saying like 52,000 asteroids, and it's supposed to be up in the 200,000s, and I'm like, that doesn't seem right. So on 1080, well, technically 1080p, it got a 12,884 score with 77.1 FPS. Then I did the windowed version. These are both Vulkan. It's 1600 by 900, and I got 11,499 with 68.8 FPS.
Oh, on the windowed version. Oh.
Yeah. So somehow I got higher on the more resolution monitor than on the windowed version.
Oh, wow.
Which is impossible.
Wow, dude, I didn't realize it was going to be so much higher than my score. That is really good.
But we need to compare our need to compare our windowed ones because my full screen one that is not right.
That used to be another thing I would always see back in the day gaming on Linux. Every YouTube video I would watch, people would be playing games windowed, and I'm like, why does everybody playing games on Linux play it in windowed mode? Why don't they play it full screen? I don't know why that was the thing for a while. But I guess because of this, maybe it was a frame rate thing maybe back then.
Could be. Yeah, sometimes it's a little weird like that. Yeah, but most of the time nowadays I don't have that issue.
So I'm gonna have to try it windowed to see how that compares. That's pretty interesting.
Yep. And the only other games I tested was ESO and then Halo Master Chief Collection, which I got between 60 and 120 FPS depending on which game you were playing.
That's hilarious. How is that, by the way? You got that on Steam?
Yeah. Oh, I love Halo. Yeah. Halo, man. Well, from the first episode we were talking about it, and I love that. I can play that all the time. And the best part about the first Halo, the remaster, is you can switch from the old graphics to the new graphics on the fly.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And it's like it's awesome to just go back and forth and be like, holy crap, we've come so far.
My wife's not a gamer, but I've told you this before. But I met my wife at a Halo tournament. That's how.
Right.
That's how we met. So Halo, even though I was never a big Halo player, it holds a special place in my heart. Yeah, I mean.
So yeah, that's it for Ubuntu for me.
So all in all, I could honestly, I was worried that this review was going to be boring because honestly, Ubuntu's not all that different from what I normally use. It already has apt.
Right.
I can install snaps. I don't know. It's not like exotic to me, really.
Right. It's the boring distro.
Yeah,
it just works.
GNOME is more exotic than Ubuntu because I'm oftentimes using Ubuntu Mate or I've used Ubuntu in the past. I've done a bunch of different ones.
Right.
But whenever Ubuntu's been using GNOME for years, but ever since that transition, I've not really been a big fan. And so the biggest thing for me is getting used to GNOME, and that was really thanks to GNOME 40 on Fedora. Had a lot to do with that. So I was a little worried that Ubuntu would be so stable for me and so normal that it would be a boring review. I'm actually kind of glad you ran into some problems that we could talk about.
Yeah. I was not expecting it to be like this at all.
Yeah.
I was expecting this to be so smooth because I've never had an issue on Linux Mint. Not this big of an issue at least with it. It always starts on the right monitor on Linux Mint. I don't have the issue with stuttering on ESO. I didn't try Resident Evil on Linux Mint yet because I didn't have it at the time. But
I've played it on Linux
I don't
Mint,
know.
but I don't normally have the problem that you have. Or
Yeah,
no, I take
don't
that
know.
back. I did. Remember when we first tried it, I couldn't get it to work.
Right. But since then, you were all right.
Right. I guess we should also say what version of Ubuntu we installed, which...
Oh, yeah, 21.04. That's what I
21.04.
installed.
I was on their website trying to see. I wasn't even sure. So that's how disconnected from from the Ubuntu community I am. I'm not even sure what version we have installed. But yeah.
I just clicked Ubuntu and installed.
I don't know. You know, what's so funny is like, I think Ubuntu is a great beginner distribution for somebody that is jumping into Linux. I think that if you're already really used to Windows and you're used to the Windows paradigm, maybe try Linux Mint.
Right.
But I know that for me, when I first started using Linux, I wanted it to look different. I didn't want to feel like I was just using Windows. And so that's the niche I think Ubuntu kind of fits. Is it feels like Ubuntu, like they have their own thing. You're definitely using an Ubuntu distribution whenever you use their distribution. And so for that, I think it's great. I don't know that it's the best particularly for gaming. I think that if you're an experienced Linux user, you may want to try something else that may take a little more setup, but you may see a better performance from. But then again, the difference is not night and day. Most people playing something like Final Fantasy XIV on Ubuntu versus on an Arch-based distro, they're not going to... I don't believe they're going to see a huge difference, to be honest with you, as far as... I think you're splitting hairs to see the difference.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know.
As long as the stuff works, I don't see the problem, you know?
Yeah.
If it works for you, go right ahead and use it. I'm not going to, tell you to use something else.
So, yeah, Ubuntu for gaming. Have at it. I added an article to the show notes that is this every time we do a show before we go on, I kind of just look at like the Google News feed for the word Linux gaming, just to see if Google sees something as being a big new news story,
right?
Then I assume it's important, right? This is not important, but it just is what came up today, and it happened to be related to what we were talking about, so I added it just so we could discuss it. But there's an article that is, what website is this? This is .esports. I don't normally go to this website. Again, this was just because Google News suggested it. This is an article by .esports, Best Linux Distros for Gaming, and I thought we'd go through this list, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I don't recognize any of these distributions, or I don't recognize a few of them. I do not recognize.
I recognize Draugr OS. I've heard of that one.
Okay. Never heard of it. Draugr OS. So Draugr OS, apparently they use a low latency kernel. It's a low latency OS that prioritizes latency over throughput, making it a fitting choice for gaming. Draugr OS, what is it based on? Does it say whether it's like an Ubuntu based or...
You know what? I don't remember. Yeah, I'm not sure which one this one's based on.
But they also have Ubuntu Game Pack.
I thought that one died.
Ubuntu Game Pack OS. Here, I'm gonna look for just Ubuntu Game Pack and see what I can find.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do too. I don't know. Cause I swear that one died. Huh? Well,
there's a...
I guess not.
UALinux.com.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's on. It's on 20.04.
Okay, so they follow the LTS.
Yeah, they're
release.
on the LTS release.
But a lot of times these game pack distros are usually just regular Ubuntu with a bunch of games installed. Usually
stuff installed. Yeah, maybe. Let's see what this.
I'm not saying that's necessarily what this one is.
Yeah,
but
and I'm not. This says this is according to this website. I have no idea if this is accurate. The Ubuntu Game Pack OS is the best of the best when it comes to Linux distributions for gaming. It's based on Ubuntu Pack 20.04. Essential features, users, yada yada yada. Additionally, game packs. So far, I'm trying to see how it's different than Ubuntu. Because it's based on Ubuntu Pack 20.04, Game Pack is well-rounded OS compatible with many essential apps like Microsoft Office. What? Yeah, okay.
How?
I don't see how it's different than Ubuntu, but it's probably got really good wallpapers.
So on their website, wallpapers. On their website, the first line that they have here, it says, "It is an operating system that will guarantee the launch of more than 85,842 games, developed both specifically for Linux and developed for Windows, DOS, various game consoles, Sega, Nintendo, PSP, PlayStation, ZX,
so does it?
Spectrum.
I wonder if it comes like
others.
prepackaged with some kind of emulator. Then
let's see here. Well, it comes prepackaged with looks like Lutris, Steam, itch.io, and GameJolt. I've never heard of GameJolt. Oh, that's just a hosting.
Huh. Well, anyway,
thing. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
There's also apparently a Fedora Games spin. So there's a spin of Fedora that's specific to games.
Yeah, I've heard of that one too, and I also thought that one was kind of like dead.
Yeah, it's probably just Fedora. There's something called Laka, which looks like it's like designed for like a controller and on your television.
That one I have used. That's an emulation station for well, it's for anything, but I used it on my Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's Chimera OS. I have heard of that.
Yeah, Chimera. They just had a release. I just heard somebody talking about it on one of the podcasts, the other podcasts. That they just had a release.
Anyway,
but basically that's Steam OS. It's Steam OS. That's what it is.
So I thought this list was interesting. I don't know. Maybe it's not. I thought it was funny that like a lot of these I had never heard of, and I pay a lot of attention to the Linux desktop community. So I think it's funny that I've never heard of some of these. Anyway.
Hey, OnePlus to Fedora GameSpin. It looks like it's running Cinnamon.
Yeah. Oh, that's pretty interesting. I might like the Fedora GameSpin. I might should try that out. All right. Well, I thought we could talk about the Steam Summer Sale and then maybe wrap this one up and in an episode. Call it good. Call it done.
Well, I did install the 470 beta NVIDIA driver on Fedora.
Oh, okay.
I did that manually, which is always a pain.
Yeah.
It worked, but no Wayland. I couldn't get Wayland to work. I installed X-Wayland. I even installed the development package for X-Wayland, and it just wouldn't come up as an option to choose, so...
And 470 is supposed to be the one that they're adding new Wayland features into.
Yeah, well. Right. Yeah, it's supposed to work on X-Wayland. That's what it's supposed to work on, and it just didn't.
It's not stable yet, so...
Right. I'm not saying anything definitively, but for me right now, it didn't work.
Yeah, so it may be some kind of weird niche case. But that is interesting because that's kind of the headlining
That's one of the main draws.
Yeah, it's like the headlining feature of 470.
Other than DLSS, that's the only other thing.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So,
which mine doesn't work with. My graphics card is not a RTX. So
what do you know about VR headsets and Linux compatibility?
That I don't know. I
know.
haven't really heard much about it.
Yeah.
I would assume bad.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say that because sometimes these guys, these niche little things, people really work on them and they work great.
Yeah, there's one on sale this week. HP makes one, and supposedly
is that the Vivo or something like that?
maybe, I'm not sure. I only heard about it because of the sale that's going on. But then whenever I looked, I'm afraid to invest in it because of the Linux compatibility. I'm pretty sure if any of them work, it's probably the one made by Valve, but I don't even know.
I would say that one works.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Probably.
I'm scared to invest in one right now, basically.
I wouldn't yet. I mean, it still isn't there for me. They need more for me. I need to have more of an experience. I've tried them in the mall. The mall by me has a place that you can do VR, and it's not there.
Yeah.
For me.
So you did that on Fedora, and
yeah, I did not try it on Ubuntu because I didn't want to screw up my Ubuntu right now.
Yeah.
I'll try it another time when I have another install of Ubuntu so I can get my ZFS stuff working. But
yeah, I think I will probably leave Ubuntu on here until we try the next distro.
Yeah, I got a free SSD, so I'm gonna install something else on it, and either Garuda or Pop, depending on which one we decide.
I was gonna do like a second hard drive kind of thing, but I've just kind of adapted the philosophy of like I just don't keep anything on my desktop that I'm not worried. Like I'll just blow it all away every time I need to, and then it's pretty easy to get set up again for the podcast. But
yep. That's the nice thing about Linux is you can do that. With Windows, you just don't want to do that. Yeah. It's just so much of a setup process.
Yeah, really.
So anyway, the Steam summer sale.
Yeah, so I picked up I went through last night and I pointed out things that I purchased. I tried to purchase things that I was interested in playing possibly for the podcast, but that was like under $10. So I have a bunch of like older games. But I did pick up a few other things, and I also just pointed out some that I think are good things to look at, things that I've either experienced for myself on Linux or that, I'm just confident that would, it has a really good rating, that sort of thing. So the first one on my list that I actually purchased is Victor Vran. I don't know how you say it. But I picked that up because it was like really cheap. I want to say it was like $5 or something. And I can't remember exactly, but it was less than $10. And Joe keeps telling me to play it. And so I was like, it's cheap right now. I might as well get it, and then I can give it a shot. I have not played it yet. But when I do, I'll talk about it on the show. And, but it looks.
What kind of a game is it?
It's like it's like an isometric. So you only see it's isometric is like Albion, where you only see like your character from one angle.
Right.
But it's not like a Diablo style combat. It's kind of a hack and slash kind of combat. So it's like a.
Oh, okay.
It's like it's definitely an ARPG, but it's like an ARPG like hack and slash.
Right.
And I also picked up, and that is Linux native, so you don't have to run it on Proton. Although, as we mentioned earlier in the show, your mileage may vary. You may decide it's better on Proton. But I also picked up Outward, which Outward is you would probably like it. It's like a survival game, like they drop you off in the wilderness kind of thing. But it has way more of an RPG aspect to it than like it's not like Minecraft or Valheim or something where there's almost no motivation. You just do whatever you want.
Right.
I haven't played the game enough to know if there's like a long storyline, but I know that right off the bat they gave me a quest. Like they told me, "Hey, you should go do this." But there's not like it's not like playing like a MMO or something where you pick up a quest and then you have like a checklist.
Right.
A character just suggested that I go do something, but whether I go do that or I go do something completely else, I mean, it's whatever. It's open world, up to me.
Right.
And then otherwise, you're just surviving, picking up new things, that sort of thing. It's one of these games that kind of like looks bad at first glance, but then as you get better looking gear and when you see everything in motion, it doesn't look that bad. But I don't know. I honestly was kind of let down based on the videos I saw on YouTube versus actually playing it. It doesn't really feel as good as it looks on YouTube, or at least to me it didn't. But it was under $10. Picked that up. Metro Exodus, I picked it up because I wanna play it and talk about it on the show. I know you're a fan. Obviously Linux native and Proton. Outward has a gold rating on Proton. I picked up Hand of Fate 2. Have you heard of this game?
No, I have not.
I picked it up because it was really cheap, and it just looked interesting enough that I wanted to play it and talk about it. But it's a card game. It's like a card and dice game, almost like a tabletop RPG. Only whenever you make characters in the card, whenever you make choices in the card game, sometimes it'll actually have you interact as the character in the tabletop game.
Oh yeah, I see it.
And then you're kind of in this hack and slash RPG world.
Huh.
So it's
kind of like drops you in the scene that you're at right there, and you get to play a little bit of the game, and then you go back to your card.
Yep.
You're looking at your cards. That's actually pretty cool.
So it's like if in real life you're playing Magic the Gathering, but whenever you go into combat mode and your Thragtusk, you tap your Thragtusk versus their, whatever, you're actually like playing out a little combat scene where you are the Thragtusk attacking the other creature,
It's actually really funny because in Fable, the game, there's I'm not sure which Fable it is, but one of them you actually get to do a quest where you are thrown into like a Dungeons and Dragons game, and you get shrunk down. You go into the game and all that stuff. It reminds me of that. That's pretty funny.
That's pretty neat. Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought it was unique enough. I wanted to try it out. Also Linux native. You don't necessarily need Proton. Last Epoch, obviously I already have that game. It's one of my favorite games right now. I like it a lot. Although I haven't played it much lately. I need to get back on playing it a little bit. But it's a Diablo style. It's ARPG, that style game. But it's very good. It's unique in the way. It's one of those things where it's like it's hard to put your finger on what the magic is, but like you can just tell that there's something fun about this one. And it's also really neat because it's coming from a small development team. They do a lot of updates on YouTube and stuff like that. So there's a nice like community aspect to watching the game develop. It's in early access right now.
Yeah, this one wasn't cheap enough for me to grab yet.
Yeah, in my review of it, I bought it at full price. And in my review of it, I was saying that like unless you're really committed to seeing this game succeed, don't pay full price for it. I don't think it's really worth that price yet. But at the Steam Summer Sale, I want to say it was $20.
Yeah, 20% off. It's 20% off right now. It's $27.99.
So it's $27. Okay, so I think that's a little closer to like. I think if this were a $20 game, I would definitely say buy it, even though it's early access and they're still in development. But at $27, it may still be worth it because it is a really
because Valheim's 20. So
yeah. I think
that would make sense.
Monster Hunter World. I've been interested in this game for a long time. I did not buy it. It's on sale right now. It's got a gold rating on Proton.
I had that game for Xbox, and I love that game.
Oh, really?
It's so much fun. But I never bought it for Windows because I didn't see it at a price that I was comfortable buying it at.
I think and if you already had it on Xbox, I don't know.
Right, exactly. It plays like garbage though, man. It's like you're not even getting 30 frames per second in some spots.
Wow, I don't see how
it's bad.
I don't see how console.
It's an Xbox One, so it's like it's an old.
That's still wild. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't see how console.
Still fun game though.
I don't see how you get over. You buy a game for a console and then it has because you can't change the performance of that console.
No,
that's wild.
Nope, and you can't change the settings on the game either.
The whole Tomb Raider franchise is on sale. All of their games.
Yeah, that's recommended. I love the Tomb Raider series, the new one.
I haven't played any of the new ones. I haven't played any of them yet, but I know that they're all Linux native, right? The most recent 3.
I think they all are. Yeah, I think they all are.
And there's also a demo for the most recent one. You can download a demo of it and play it before you purchase it. But yeah, Linux native Tomb Raider games. Divinity Original Sin. We talked about that one earlier. You can play it on Linux. It's also available on Proton. It's basically D&D only not. You know what's funny is if you play Baldur's Gate 3, that is literally Dungeons and Dragons, the 5th edition.
Yeah, that is literally, yeah. I watched a little bit of that on YouTube, and it's very intriguing to me, but I just don't think I could get into it because I've never really played Dungeons and Dragons much, so it's like I don't think I could get into it. I don't know.
I could set you up, man. Like I said, you see all
I know.
these books up here?
I know.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's on sale for summer sale. I could be wrong, but I didn't see it. But it's early access right now. Baldur's Gate 3. It's very, very early access. If you buy it, expect to see some bugs. That being said, I did get it to run under Proton, and it took some doing. I'd have to go back and maybe take some notes if I were to do it again. But I did get it to run, and
oh, that's right. We did talk about this before. I remember you talking about it.
I think I put it in the show notes, and we never actually talked about it because it was
maybe that's what it was.
It was one of those cases where like I got the game to work, and then I was just like, all right, I've had my fun. I'm done.
Moving on.
Yeah. But anyway, so Divinity Original Sin, there's none of that. You just install the game and play it, and it works. Final Fantasy 14 is on sale right now. You can buy the base game, I think, for $20, which I think is the regular price. But then they've got the expansion on summer sale, and I think it is also $20 where it's normally like $40 or $50. And it runs great under Linux. There's a few tweaks you have to do. If you go to the Proton DB page, look in the comments. There's plenty of people saying what you have to do, but basically you have to change 2 files. You have to change one file in the game's directory to say browser type 1 where it was 0, and then you launch the game. It will fail, but it created a new file, and then you open that file and change something and then save it, and then the game will work from then on. Only the golden rule, at least for me, your mileage may vary. I cannot click whenever you type in your username and your password. If you just hit enter, you're golden. But if you click on login, it'll crash. So don't click login, just hit enter. Trust me. But other than that, the game runs perfect. It's a great game. No difference. I've played it plenty on Windows, and I can tell you it runs. It may even run better on Linux if you just get past that setup.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. Dragon Age.
Now, is this all the games, or is this just the original?
All the games are on sale at varying prices. They are all on sale.
I love Dragon Age. That's one of my top favorite games of all time. All of them have been, well, the second one was but definitely the first and the third one are amazing.
So I bought whatever the third one's called, the one with the green on the cover. Inquisition, yeah. I purchased it just because you talked about it here, and I want to play it, and it also seems like a game I would enjoy.
Yeah, I think you're going to like that game because it kind of plays like an MMO, but it's not. It's a single player game. It's really awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I think I'll like it.
But I don't have it on Steam. I have it on EA because I actually have the discs. I have all like 7 discs that I can install.
Wow. That's wild.
That's the last game I bought for PC that was discs.
Well, if you want to replace it on Steam, they got it on sale right now. I'm not sure how much it was, but
it works to install it through EA if I have to.
I think it was less than $20 because I bought several of these games, but I didn't buy anything over $20.
Let me look.
If I did, don't tell my wife. I
tell who?
I said platinum and gold because I think Inquisition is gold and the other ones are platinum, maybe. Or vice versa.
80%? What? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
$7.99 for Game of the Year edition?
But is that Inquisition or is that the other one?
That's Inquisition.
See, I told you.
It was not that cheap. It was not that cheap the other day. I think that just happened.
I hope not. I want my money back, Steam, if I paid $19 for it. I also put Doom in here. I already own Doom, or I don't know which one I own, but I own one of them. And one of the reasons I pointed it out is because I remember when Proton first came out, their like flagship game that they were like, oh, you're not going to believe this, but we've got Doom for Windows running on Proton. That was like their flagship, like I think what is it, id Studio or whoever it is. I even think that they even like designed the game to like work on Proton. because it was one of their first games that they were like proud of working on Proton. But it is also on sale. I think there's only 2 new Dooms, and the 2 new Dooms are both on sale. Another one that I picked up, and I picked up the franchise of all 3 games, is Dead Space 1, 2, and 3 are platinum or gold on Proton DB, and the entire franchise was like $15. So I bought all 3 for $15.
Yeah, Dead Space. That's one of my favorite series too.
Yeah,
I love Dead Space.
I think I've only played the first one, or maybe it was the second one.
The first one I think is the best one, but the other 2 are not bad. Like, it's not like, oh, they're total garbage. They're actually pretty good.
I'm gonna look up. It might have been 2. I'm sure it was not 3. 3 seems too new. But it may have been 2. What does Dead Space 1 look like?
To be honest, they aged really well.
Oh yeah, they did.
All 3 of them.
They did. Dead Space 1 actually looks really good. So that could be what I played. But it was so whenever I got married, my engagement ring that I bought my wife was like super cheap. And it's funny, we eventually replaced it, but at the time we got the cheapest ring, and the diamond kept falling out of it. And I was playing Dead Space, and this was at our old house, and I had a podcast studio set up in the old house, and the room was completely covered in black curtains, and when I had the lights off, it was like pitch black in there. And I had these like noise canceling headphones, and I'm playing Dead Space, and I'm getting to one of these like nope parts where you're like, nope, I don't want to walk into that room. Like, what are you, crazy? I do not want to walk in there. And like, I will quit this game right now and not walk into that room. And I'm in like one of those parts, and like my character is like in noise canceling headphones. I've got everything turned up really loud. I'm like in the zone. And what was going on in the other part of the house that I didn't know was my wife's diamond had fallen out of the engagement ring and fell down the sink. And
oh no,
I couldn't hear anything because I had the engagement ring on. My wife comes in after getting out of the shower. She's wearing like a white t-shirt, and her hair's like stringy. She's got like stringy long dark hair because she just got out of the shower. And she comes into, and I just silently see this woman just like crying in complete silence. I like look over and I'm just like like it's like it was like on you remember the first person shooter game Fear, where like the creepy girl would just like appear on the screen while you were playing. It was like that happened to me in real life. Like I was just like, what's going on?
Oh my gosh. No, thank you.
So I haven't played. I don't even think I beat Dead Space. I think it was the last time I ever played Dead Space.
Oh, you should finish it. It's so good.
Yeah, well, I picked up
man.
all 3 on the summer sale. I mean, I got all 3 and like some sort of special DLC or something for like $15. So I'll definitely play it.
Yeah, they're awesome.
See how it runs on Linux. Back then, I was probably playing that on Windows, so I've never played it on Linux. Want to see how it goes. But yeah, so that's my Steam summer sale. Is there anything that you saw that looked interesting?
To be honest, not other than what you've mentioned, the couple of ones that I like. I mean, it's so hard for me to get into a new game because I just don't have the time to do it. And I know it's an excuse and whatever, yada yada, but
oh no,
I'm like, I want to buy a game that I've never played before, like a genre I've never played before or anything like that, but I just don't want to do it and then just never play it and be like, oh yeah, well I guess I wasted that money.
I really feel like I'm never gonna play Outward. I will probably only play Victor Vran to talk about it on the podcast. I probably won't play it beyond that. Hand of Fate, I'll probably play a little bit of Hand of Fate, just enough that I can talk about it on the podcast. Now, Dragon Age and Dead Space, I feel like I will play those games. Yeah.
Oh, Dragon Age is so good. You have to play. Yeah. You have to play that.
I'll definitely check it out.
I just bought it actually.
Oh, really?
That's what I was doing. If you didn't notice, I was trying to log into my Steam account. It was giving me problems.
All right. Well, I guess that rounds out the show. I think this was a good one.
Yeah, this was a good one. And the Steam Summer Sale, that is like, I have to plug that because that's the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
Like, before Steam, it was like you had to go to, Walmart or whatever to get anything cheaper than,
dude.
I
I don't have it anymore, but one of the first games I bought when I built my first PC. It wasn't the first PC I built, but it was the first PC I built with my own money. And
right.
I went to the store and I bought Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and it was in a case. It was in a plastic case. And I bought it at Walmart. Walmart still sold PC games, whereas now Valve, they would never release a game in a physical form. I don't think. I mean, I think everything would just come out on Steam. And
not unless it was like a collector's thing,
yeah.
and they were just making a limited amount of them, and yada yada.
And stores like that don't sell PC games anymore. Like everything is online now.
Yep.
It's crazy.
The only thing they sell is console games, and even that's going by the wayside.
Yeah, even console games is kind of disappearing, which I think is probably
the era of the disc has ended.
The era of the disc is over. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. So what are we doing, Garuda?
Yeah, let's do Garuda.
All right, we'll do Garuda. All right.
I might install both of them and then just kind of like use Garuda now and kind of like tinker with Pop.
I think we go Garuda. Pop is too similar to we just did Ubuntu. But we'll do...
Okay, so we go back and
right,
forth.
so we'll do Garuda, and then we'll do Pop after that. I think that's the plan. And then anything else, please suggest in the comments. We'll do it next. But for now, see you next week. Peace.
See ya.